is this superhero? Sarge? No. Rosemary, the telephone operator? No. Henry, the mild-mannered janitor?
Could be. Hong Kong Phooey, #1 super guy. Hong Kong Phooey, quicker than the human eye. He's got style, a groovy smile, and a vibe that just won't stop. When the going gets rough, he's super tough with a Hong Kong Phooey chop. Hong Kong Phooey, #1 super guy. Hong Kong Phooey, quicker than the human eye. Tick-a-chong, tick-a-chong, tick-a-chaka, tick-a-chong, tick-a-chong, wow, wow, wow. Hong Kong Phooey, terrific!
Hello, it's me again. Yep, we've made it to episode 5. I have to admit, I really didn't think I'd get this far. I thought I'd give up after a couple of episodes because, you know, as I've said before, I'm not really a natural talker in front of the microphone or in front of a large gathering of people. Kind of odd, really, considering that I've enjoyed working in retail off and on since 1995. Anyway, before I go any further, I need to say a big thank you to all of you who have joined the Two Sheds Review Facebook group, and to all of you who listened to, who downloaded my previous podcast, the outside broadcast I did from Chroma. The total number, I don't know the exact number of listens and downloads and that, but I do know that it's more than the previous episodes combined, and you know that was just a spur of the moment idea I had, as I said, and I'm glad I did it, and I am actually thinking of doing a follow-up next week, because as I record this, next week will be about a week or so since the new lockdown measures were introduced, since they came into force, and I'll be making my weekly journey into Chroma again, and it will be interesting to see if anything's changed, if anything has changed at all. Like I said, thanks for all that, and let's get on with the show.
Stop the music for a few minutes. It's time for news.
Okay, let's start this thing by giving out a couple of awards. Based on an old episode of The Simpsons, I'm going to give an award, the Stone of Shame, and the Stone of Triumph. Now, the Stone of Triumph I'm going to give to comedian Jason Manford. I have to freely admit he's not one of my all-time favourite comedians, but I think he deserves a mention here. Jason, when the lockdown first went into effect, like many of us, applied for a job at Tesco. This was back when, it seemed like a lifetime ago now, this was back when the supermarkets were basically screaming out for staff because of all the panic buying, and they needed extra staff to help and all that. So Jason applied for a job, and he was rejected. Now, the reason he applied for the job was sort of like the old wartime spirit sort of thing. He basically just wanted to help out. He took a bit of stick off about it on social media. A lot of people thought he was just like taking the mickey and all that, until he posted a copy of his rejection letter from Tesco onto his social media accounts. He has since then been offered a job from Iceland. I don't mean sort of like a proper 20-hour-a-week or 0-hour-a-week contract job sort of thing. They've offered to give some money to charity if he works a shift for them. I think it's kind of a win-win situation for all concerned, but both get a bit of good publicity. Jason's charity of choice gets a bit of cash. But, that's not what he's in it for anyway, is it? Like I said, the guy just wants to help. He's been volunteering during the lockdown, driving OAPs to their medical appointments and what have you. So I say, good on you, Mr. Manford. Stone of Shame, I was going to give it to one specific person, a person I used to know a few years ago. But I'm just going to give it, it's a general massive house-sized stone of shame to all these people who have broken the government's lockdown rules. In some cases, it's actually people who have been in government, who have advised government, telling people what they should do. This big award is to people like you, to the people who've broken lockdown rules, the footballers, the sports stars, and to this guy who lives in Norwich that I used to know. You all deserve a great big kick up the backside, because you basically, you're not following the rules. You haven't followed the rules. You've gone out further than you should have. You've socialised with people. You've done this, you've done that. I could go on and on for bloody ages. But you're all a bunch of cockwombles. And frankly, if you get publicity and you get people on social media and all that saying what a bunch of cockwombles you are, you deserve everything you get. Because there's people that are trying to observe the rules and doing the best that they can. And we don't really need people in authority, or people who are famous and who are meant to be role models and are meant to be guiding lights and showing us how to live, telling us that we should abide by lockdown rules, then blatantly breaking those rules and posting about it on social media.
Excuse me, what happened if you mash this button? What do it do? Oh Lord. Lord. Oh, good.
Well, while we're on it, as you all know, if you live here in the UK, Boris Johnson made an announcement to the nation this past Sunday night. And that announcement was that basically the slogan they've been using over the past couple of months has been changed. And some of the lockdown restrictions have been eased because we're apparently doing very well at staying home and sitting on our backsides, well, apart from that bloke in Norwich. Now, I know this may annoy some of you, and, what, quite rightly so, everyone's entitled to opinion, and I'm entitled to mine, but I was really surprised at what I read on social media in the hours in the day or so after Uncle Boris made his announcements. And it just basically seemed like I was the only one who understood what he was saying. There seemed to be a lot of confused people in this country. And judging by what I read on Twitter and Facebook and all that, a lot of people just didn't seem to be paying attention. Now, I apologise if that offends you, but it's kind of how I felt. I watched what he said. It was a bit bumbling, but I understood what he was getting at. I really understood what the guy was trying to say. And when someone actually put it down in words, and I saw it on Facebook, I understood it even more, and some people just didn't seem to understand that either. I mean, one of the parts of the new slogan that the government has come up with is "Stay alert." Now, when you have leaders of parties and devolved governments saying "Stay alert, stay alert," what does that mean? I don't know what that means. I know what it means. For me, it was like Boris was telling me, right, when you go out, you stay alert. But in the end, you should be aware of your surroundings, of what's going on. Be aware of what could be a danger to you during this pandemic. And a lot of people just didn't seem to realise what he was saying. And I don't know, mate. Is this me sounding arrogant? I don't know. Am I trying to say, well, balls to it, I'm more intelligent than you, the people listening to this. I knew what he was saying, and you're dumb as hell for not knowing it. And again, I apologise if that turn of phrase, if this view offends you. But the way social media kind of exploded and offered their views on this changing tack of the country going down the different path, it kind of made me think that perhaps we'd be better without social media and the internet. I mean, what a lot of people don't seem to realise is that we haven't had anything like this in the world for what, over 100 years? No government in the world has ever experienced anything like this before. And we're expecting our governments to just handle it like it's nothing. Like it's, like the fuel crisis we had a few years ago, and, any other crisis, like when Argentina invaded the Falklands. There's nothing really to compare it to, is there? So how are we meant to know how our government should handle this situation? Now this probably will differ from what you're all thinking, but I don't think we should be spending our time, or rather, I don't think our political ruling classes should be spending their time squabbling with each other. They should be trying to help each other. I mean, okay, it's the job of the leader of the opposition, Sir Keir Starmer, to point out where he thinks the government is going wrong. But the past couple of dark days, he just seems to be sort of like trying to do the old political point scoring thing again. And he has said the opposition would work with the government, but like I said, by all means point out their mistakes, but don't make such a big bloody deal about it. Okay. And then let's move over the pond, as it were, to the greatest cartoon character ever created, America's current president, Donald J. Trump. Yeah, I'm mentioning him again. I mentioned him a lot in the first episode of this podcast. We probably all saw what he did the other day at the daily briefing in the White House garden, when the reporter, the Chinese American reporter, I'm sorry I can't remember her name. She asked him a question about why is he always seems to be competing with other countries, and he basically said, well, why don't you just go and ask China? And then another reporter tried to back her up, and he basically threw a hissy fit, turned his back on them and walked off and ended the conference there and then. And I think this reporter got it right. I said in episode 1, he seems to be running the coronavirus effort as like his election campaign. I said it then, and I'll say it again here. But it now seems that it seems to me that he's fed up of coronavirus. All right, we're all fed up of coronavirus, but the way he acts, he acts like he's fed up of it, and he just wants it to go away right now, so he can get on with telling the world how great he is and how great America is. Well, if that's the case, I'm sorry, Donald, but coronavirus doesn't work that way. You know, I'm shaking my head thinking about it. I mean, like I said, I've labelled him the world's greatest cartoon character. I mean, the guy's just a joke. And I wonder how the hell did someone who acts like a spoiled brat, like a petulant child, who, when he doesn't get his own way, stomps his feet, puts his fingers in his ears and goes, no, I can't hear you. I wonder how he got elected in the first place. And, you know, what did America deserve to get him? But then I think, well, a majority of Americans voted for him to be their leader. And I know this may annoy a few people. Well, I've probably already annoyed a few people, so I'm going to say it anyway. America, you voted for him. It's your own bloody fault. Now I said it. You know, Trump liked it when he could handle things, but I think he just can't handle this virus thing, can he? I mean, he's bored with the whole thing. He's bored having to do the daily briefings, and that report was right. He just seemed to be trying to be competing with other countries, always going on about, oh, we've done this, we've done that, we've done this, we've done that. So-and-so haven't done this. You know, those people in that other country haven't done this. And, by the way, it's all China's fault. It's not his fault. It's not his fault anyone's dying. You know, the country had 8 years of Barack Obama, and everyone loved Barack Obama. Well, mostly everyone. And, like I said, in episode 1, it comes to something when you're looking back on the glory days of George W. Bush. You know, we all had a laugh at old W, didn't we? But, you know, we have a laugh at old Trump, and then we just sort of like bang our heads against our desks and think, why don't you just piss off now? But like I said before, I watched The Celebrity Apprentice USA sometimes when it was shown over here late at night. And some of the things he said at the end of the show, you know, that bit where the contestants sort of like sit in front of him, some business things he would talk about made sense, but, you know, the American people have had 4 years of him not making sense. Sounds like a Talking Heads song, really, doesn't it? You know, and instead of going on about the numbers and all that, perhaps he should show a bit of concern about the people he's meant to be leading. Because I remember reading on Twitter a few weeks ago that someone said they don't think they've actually heard Trump during one of his briefings. They don't think they've actually heard him offer any condolences to the families of those that have sadly lost their lives in America during this crisis. And if that is the case, I mean, I haven't seen everyone. I've only watched some of them, and of course I watched that video the other day where he walked out on those reporters. And I think, well, if he hasn't done that, done the thoughts and prayers bit, then he really is a bit of an asshole, isn't he? He really is. You know, let's have one final word on Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump is more or less like those comedy villains you'd see in those old Hanna-Barbera cartoons. You know, he's like dastardly, you know, so inept at trying to stop a little pigeon getting across the enemy lines, and, you know, he couldn't even do that. Well, I think we'll leave it at that for the coronavirus bit for now.
Enough said.
Well, if you didn't realise it, sport has apparently returned. I'm talking about professional sport, not the the sport that the government says that you and I can play if we keep our social distance from others. This past weekend, the UFC held a show in front of no audience. Haven't watched it. I probably won't. I have, like wrestling. I've watched an MMA show for about 4 years now. And this coming weekend, the German Bundesliga, their football league, is set to start again. This despite the fact that some of their players, since this was announced, have tested positive for the virus. And one particular team, I think it's Dynamo Dresden, have had to go into 2 weeks isolation because of it. And of course, with all that going on, there's a lot of talk about when sport is going to resume. There's a big kerfuffle up in Scotland at the moment with the lower leagues having been called, and Rangers Football Club claiming there was like dirty deeds done and trying to get an investigation done, which was apparently voted against by the other members of the league. I don't know the exact details. I could probably get the exact details up on the computer screen here in front of me, but I won't. Then there's the football situation here in England. If I remember correctly, the national leagues have been called, they've been ended. But we don't know what's going to happen with the Football League and the Premier League. I mean, as it stands, I seem to recall that they want to resume in about a month or so, around about June the 12th or so, and there's plans to hold matches behind closed doors and all that, and that some of the teams have started training again. As far as other sports go, I think cricket's been cancelled, not completely. They've cancelled their new competition, their 100-ball competition. We've been told there's going to be no cricket at least until July. Formula 1 has cancelled loads of events. There's no boxing. I don't know about rugby because I don't follow rugby because it's boring as hell. And, you know, people are saying, those in the know who know a lot more than I do, are saying that sport should return as soon as possible because it will help uplift the spirit of the nation. Yeah, that's all well and good. But what about those who actually take part? Those who will be providing us with this entertainment, will they be safe? That's a good question, isn't it? I mean, we haven't had any new live sport on sport channels that I subscribe. I subscribe to Sky Sports. There hasn't been any new live sport on there since the lockdown, nearly 2 months ago. Have I missed it? Yes, of course I've bloody missed it. You know, even I'm not a City fan. I want to see them scrap their way out of the relegation problem that they were in the Premier League. And there's a big part of me that wanted to see Liverpool, you know, win their first league title for what, over 30 years. You know, when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, Liverpool were the dominant force. They were winning every bloody thing. And then they started their slide in the 90s and Manchester United took over and they started winning every bloody thing. There's part of me that wanted to... I suppose I don't want to go back to my days of my youth, and I want to see Liverpool winning the league again, even though I'm a very big Norwich fan. And like I said, I would love to just basically sit on my sofa with my dog on a Sunday afternoon or Monday night, watching the football. Don't know which team it was, watching the Premier League or the English Football League, or any league for that matter. I would just love to just sort of lay on the sofa with my big boy Monty watching the football, or just, you know, vegetating on the sofa watching day of a test match. I think it's that the West Indies were meant to be touring this summer. But that's all gone. But the thing is, a lot of the channels now, and the non-sport channels like, BBC One and ITV One and all that, have been showing old sport, and I've quite enjoyed watching some of that. I mean, there's some of it, stuff from the 70s in particular, I don't have much memory of. I mean, the other night I watched the highlights on the 1979 Cup final between Man United and Arsenal, and I quite enjoyed it, and I've also enjoyed watching some recent cricket matches from the past 20 years or so. Like for instance, Sky Sports have been showing some stuff from the 2005 Ashes series. I mean, who can forget that one? That was one of the best Test series in modern history, and certainly in the past 20 years. And another thing I've really enjoyed is the documentaries about sport and things like, I don't know if you've seen it, it's the Captain's Log series on Sky Sports Cricket, where they talk to former cricket captains from around the world about their time as captains. And I've quite enjoyed hearing something like these old stories. I'm a sucker for hearing these old stories. That's why I liked hanging around some of these old wrestlers back in the day and hearing their old stories. But the question is, should sports start again? Can it be played in an entirely safe environment? Like I said, I'm not a scientist type guy. Science, well, I basically know what I've read and I've seen, and I've read what some of the so-called experts on Facebook have and social media have posted. And although I would love to see sport back, there's a big part of me thinks, nah, leave it till it's completely safe to do so. I mean, this coronavirus thing isn't a here today, gone tomorrow type thing. It's going to be with us for a while, and life is going to be different. If people really want to see sport, we've got decades of sporting archive we can watch, and we can relive those great moments from the past. But as far as new sport goes, there's, with the German league starting again this week, and there's part of me that really hopes that things don't take a backward step, as it were, and when sport finally does restart, people, the powers that be will be considering the athletes, and they won't be considering the bank accounts. Because, as I've said in a previous episode, it's really all about the money, isn't it? Subscription fees, television rights, wages, I could go on and on and on. Image rights, blah, 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 blah. I could go on and on. But like I said, I don't want sport back if I'm watching it and thinking, these guys shouldn't be putting their lives at the risk of this virus just to entertain me. They should do it if they want to do it. If they don't, their hands shouldn't be forced, and they shouldn't be punished for not wanting to put their lives and put the lives of their family at risk. Oh, and while I'm at it, can I add another stone of shame to Manchester City player Kyle Walker? How many times has he broken the lockdown rules now? Twice, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, we'll attach the stone of shame round your neck, then perhaps you can stop driving 100 odd miles or whatever it was from Manchester to Sheffield, just to see your pet. I know you want to see your family, but for God's sake, man, we've got rules we've got to abide by. We'll be right back after these important messages.
This is basic civil defense information from the Department of Defense, Office of Civil Defense, Washington.
How much time do we have? Minutes, days, months, years? We don't know. But this we do know. Civil defense is everybody's business. It's your business. Recently, Millard Caldwell, Administrator, Federal Civil Defense Administration, said, "Our danger at home is fixed and constant. Right at this moment, every major city in the United States is within reach of Russian bombers. We know that Russia has atomic bombs. We know that Russia has the facilities to wage biological warfare. We know that Russia is supplied with all the modern war gases. So long as these things are true, and every one of them is true, Fortress Main Street must be on the alert day and night."
Bomb, bomb, hydrogen bomb, 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 hydrogen bomb. It's a big loud noise in your ear gone. Bomb, bomb, the hydrogen bomb.
Dum dum, diddle dum dum, diddle dum dum, diddle dum dum. There was a turtle by the name of Bert, and Bert the turtle was very alert. When danger threatened him, he never got hurt. He knew just what to do. He ducked and covered, ducked and covered.
He did what we all must learn to do. You
And you
and you and you.
duck and cover.
Be sure and remember what Bert the Turtle just did, friends, because every one of us must remember to do the same thing.
Remember what to do, friends. Now tell me right out loud. What are you supposed to do when you see the flash?
Duck and cover. Duck and cover. Duck and cover.
Well, that's a lot for this episode. As I said at the beginning, I am thinking of doing another outside broadcast type thing, looking at how things have changed, if they have changed, since the new lockdown measures came into effect. I mean, at the time of recording, they've only been in effect for a few hours. By the time I get round to doing my next podcast, they've been in effect about a week or so. So it'll be interesting to see how Chroma has changed, if it has changed. Starting to sound like a stuck record again, aren't I? One other thing I should tell you, you may recall that I was thinking of doing a version of this podcast where I basically play a few old songs and, a few of my favourite songs. I am actually in the middle of planning that and writing a script and all that, choosing songs and intro music and all that. I still haven't decided if I'm going to do it. I've got tons of ideas going through my head. I might do it, I might not do it. It depends. How I feel. Things could change and spur of the moment thing. You never know these days. Mind you, it's not as if I've got a lot to do at the moment, is it? Anyway, don't forget to check out my blog at twoshedsreview.blogspot.com. I'm only going to give out that website address, because you can find everything else linked to my Podbean account, my Mixcloud account, and my YouTube page on that, and it would save a bit of time. Well, like I said, that's a lot. Thanks for listening, and please share this podcast and share my links to my Facebook page and to my blog. And if you don't share it, I'll send Christopher Walken round your house and get him to read bedtime stories to your kids. A frightening thought, isn't it? See ya.